Dr. Omar, thank you so very much for coming through, Doc, and for your patience.
No problem.
Who is Dr. Omar? Start with you for a second.
Okay, so Dr. Fatma is a medical doctor by profession, a lady in her 30s.
Yes.
A lover of the finer things in life.
I like that.
And a believer in hard work.
Very good. It's all about the grit.
Absolutely.
It's all about the grit. Now, they say, I just wanted to demystify this one because now, for the first time, because I was going to, we'll talk about me in a second. They say which is the most important meal of the day?
The most important meal of the day is breakfast.
Breakfast.
Yeah.
And, we culturally, okay, before we were colonized, it was egg and bacon. You know bacon, bro?
Yes.
But then our neighbors, we used to frown upon them. In fact, we used to check them because they used to have ugali for breakfast. Kumbe, they were doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
So today, for the first time, I had dry fry, ugs, and scrambled eggs. I went back to sleep, bro. That was at 6 a.m.
That's dinner.
Yes. Yes. So let's start with, first of all, introduce yourself. You've told us who you are.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself and what you do at Jubilee Health, please.
Okay. So I am the wellness manager at Jubilee Health Insurance. And my work essentially revolves around preventive healthcare.
Right.
In very simplistic terms, I work to make sure our people don't get sick. Our members are not getting sick.
Right.
And we do this through very different methods. First, of course, we promote a lot of awareness because information is power.
I like that.
We also motivate our members to remain healthy because, the human brain is always wired to take the easy way out, and living healthy is not easy. But when there's a motivating factor, whether it's extrinsic or intrinsic, then it becomes more appealing to the members, right? We also impart them with the necessary skills and tools they require to lead a healthy lifestyle, because it's not enough to tell someone to be healthy.
Sharp.
You have to show them how to do it.
Like that.
And lastly, we influence the systems that we can to ensure that, it's a smooth sailing journey.
Right.
And sort of, what do we say? The river follows, the river flows downstream.
Yes.
So, when you make it easy for someone to live healthy,
Right.
They may possibly not even be consciously thinking about it, but because you have changed one or two things in their environment, they find it much easier. So that's what I do.
Now, Doc, you see, and we'll dissect this. In previous generation, there was a disease called gout.
Right.
It's still there.
Right.
Okay. But, my peers are then slightly older. It was a commoner thing. And it was described as a lifestyle disease.
Absolutely.
Now you hear this, the diabetes, okay?
Yeah.
Obesity. These are now the lifestyle diseases here and now. What is a lifestyle disease? And surely, as a lifestyle disease, can you explain what it is and why they're becoming more common and how they're impacting people generally, our daily lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to simplify my explanation, so I'll do that for the period of this show. The reason they're called lifestyle diseases, you may think that it's because, of the lifestyle you lead, which is true to some extent. It's a lifestyle disease, so surely it must come with a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
But the actual definition of lifestyle diseases is those illnesses whose risk factors depend on the lifestyle that you lead. So the risk factors that bring about lifestyle diseases are choices. You choose to do it or you don't.
Yes.
And so it determines whether you're going to develop the lifestyle disease. It's very different from something like the flu. I mean, if it's flu season and you sit next to someone who has a flu, you will develop the flu regardless of the lifestyle you lead. But for lifestyle diseases, you can't sit next to someone who also suffers from a lifestyle disease and then contract it, right? But the lifestyle disease will come about due to the choices that you make on a daily basis. Now, they are largely tied to 3 modifiable risk factors, 3 common modifiable risk factors. Number 1 is the diet you choose. Number 2 is how active or inactive you are. And number 3 is whether or not you smoke. I hope you're not asking smoke what, but
no.
I'll just answer that.
Yes.
Cigarettes, right? Cigarettes have been found to be extremely harmful and contribute to development of lifestyle diseases. So these 3 risk factors, as doctors, we say they are modifiable. Modify in simple terms. So modifiable means you can change. You can change it the day you decide to. And it's what now determines whether you'll develop them or not. Now, there are other risk factors that could be tied to development of lifestyle diseases. The most common one that people like to ask about being genes. So you'll find that people will ask, my mom or my aunt suffers from this disease. Is it automatic that I'll get it? Your risk is definitely higher than someone who comes from a family where nobody suffers from these diseases, but it's not one of so nutrition is one of the most important factors to consider in the development of lifestyle diseases. Remember, I've mentioned the 3 most important ones are whether or not you smoke, what kind of diet you're on, and how active or inactive you are, right? Now, if I was to rank these 3 areas from the most important to the least important, well, not least important, but number 1, number 2, and number 3, number 1 would be nutrition. Sort that out, and you sort out a lot of the problems related to development of lifestyle diseases. Nutrition.
Okay, so let's deal with them then one at a time.
So let's start with nutrition.
Okay, so let's first of all, Locke. What have you had? Okay, and let's have this conversation. Okay, because I hate my vegetables. But I get if I get myself I love spinach. If I get my daily dose, or kachumbari, which is avocado, tomato, onions, and pil. Right. Okay. And then the third go-to is coleslaw. If I do one of those 3 once a day, Doc, surely I'm good. You yourself?
I do love my veggies. I do a lot of veggies.
No, describe your meal.
My meal, a typical meal will be starch.
No. Please talk in a language that all Kenyans can understand.
Which will be either ugali, chapati, or rice. Ideally, I will go for either meat or beans.
Right.
And then veggies. I'll do veggies, and this will be
every meal.
Yes. Okay. I try as much as I can. Veggies is usually my first meal, actually, before even we come to the proteins bit. I would rather do veggies and proteins. But now my problem, which I know Doc is probably going to address, is my starch intake. I do it a big ugali, bruv.
Okay.
I am very generous with ugali.
All right.
Great. So I want to take a 2-pronged approach
please
to nutrition. So I'll address what you eat and how much you eat, right? So what you eat and how much you eat and how it should look like, because these are the 2 factors, the 2 main factors that feed into nutrition. So do you want me to start with what or how much?
What?
Okay. All right. So when it comes to what you eat, this will determine whether you have a healthy diet or not, right? Let's look at the food groups. Basically, okay, let me start here. Imagine your plate, okay? So your entire plate, your entire serving is 100%. And because I want this to be an interactive session, if your entire plate is 100%, so 100% it has the ugali, quach, it has the You mentioned nyama.
Nyama, yes.
And it has the coleslaw.
Bas.
Sindio?
Yes.
So out of the 100%, how much do you think the ugali should be?
No, you see, what I like to do is, because like I said, me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
So it is a 45, then that to coleslaw 5.
Okay.
But ideally, honestly, so growing up, if I followed the Doctors of Which's mother growing up as kids, yani balance, yani a third.
A third is a good start.
Right.
A third is a good start.
Right.
However, the optimum is this 100%.
Yes.
Half of the plate
Yes.
should be the protein. I know it's expensive.
Yes.
That's actually one of our main issues.
Right.
It's expensive. Can you imagine half of your plate is protein?
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
But consistently,
Yes.
especially you see
Yes.
maybe for a family of 4, a family of 5.
Yes.
It
Wow.
can be
Yes.
pricey.
Indeed.
So the second best thing, of course, is a third. However, the best is ensure majority of your plate, 50% is protein, and then you're left with the other 50%, right? So 25% is the carbohydrate, which is the starch, and then the other 25% is the vegetable.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
and there maybe let me expound. There are reasons for this. First is because protein is the number one key determinant of whether you're going to build muscle or not. Okay, the more protein you eat, the more muscle you eat. You know, like the way bodybuilders
Yes,
always they
exactly,
praise
yes,
protein.
yes.
Protein is the holy
Yes.
grail.
yeah,
So the
3
more protein
chickens,
you
I'm like, what?
the
Yeah.
more protein you eat,
Yes.
the more muscle you build. The reason it's important to build muscle, the most important reason is because it increases what we call your basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate is how fast you burn calories without doing anything.
Come on.
Right? So the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn
burn.
at rest. Okay?
The way we are now.
Yes, the way we are now.
Yes,
so
at
if
rest.
I eat a lot of protein and my muscle mass is more than yours, you'll find that I don't find it very difficult to keep off the fat.
I love it.
Yeah. But if you don't, then that means you do not have enough muscle. And so you need to do more than I do to keep off the fat. Then you really need to build the muscle mass is to support your bone density. As you grow older, you naturally lose muscle. When you naturally lose muscle, you'll find that it goes hand in hand with how heavy your bones are. When this ratio is compromised, that's why you hear when someone gets to a certain age, they just wake up and they feel tired.
Yes.
Or they just have aches that they can't
Yes.
explain.
Yes.
It's because muscle mass is reduced.
Yes.
Bone density is also, less.
Yes.
And so they become frail. Yeah, adults become more frail the older you become.
Yes.
So it's important that you eat foods that build this muscle.
Right.
Right. Now let's go to starch.
No, okay. So while we're on protein, then.
Yeah.
And like you
yes.
said, yes.
While we're on protein,
Yes.
there are different kinds of protein.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we know the best source of protein is meat. Huh?
Yes.
Our favorite thing.
Yes.
And so there are always questions about what is the best kind of meat, right? Is it red meat? Is it white meat? Is it all of it? What should I focus on? Now, remember, you are trying to keep the fat off, and I'm going to make this as simplistic
Please.
as possible.
Yes.
If you're trying to keep the fat off, then you shouldn't eat fatty foods, right?
Right.
You should try and keep them at a minimum.
Indeed.
Now, red meat, the reason red meat is so delicious is because it is packed with saturated fats. Okay? Do you like your T-bone? I like my
Yes.
T-bone.
I love me
Yeah.
the steak.
I love me my T-bone steak.
Yes.
And these days I even know what to look for when I go shopping.
Bus.
And what I have to look for is marbling.
Thank you.
Because
The
I've been-
bubbling, yeah.
The marbling,
Wagyu beef.
Yeah.
Are you with us here, bro?
So if the steak is not marbled,
Yes.
that is going to be a very tough
Bus.
steak.
There you go.
I'm not going to enjoy it.
Bus.
Now, that marbling, that's saturated fat. I mean, that's fat, and that's
Yes.
what makes it so delicious.
Yes.
So if you're the kind of person who is eating, remember, you see how much protein I've mentioned.
Yes.
So imagine
50%.
consistently eating
Yes.
this much, amount of saturated fat on a consistent basis.
What doc is saying, you should meet at Kenyatta Market every lunchtime, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, you should eat white meat because then white meat does not have as much saturated fat.
So we're talking about hens and veg, fish and chicken.
So we're talking about fish and chicken, yes.
Right.
So if you're even looking at chicken, if you eat, do you like the skin of chicken?
I love it.
It has so much fat, Kwach. I can see you love the good things in life. Eh? That's why. That's why you'll find that people are recommending you have boneless chicken.
Yes.
The thigh.
Yes.
Because it's devoid of any fat, right? It's very minimal, and it's not the most delicious part.
Thank you. In fact, Madam hates it.
It's not.
Yes,
and so that's why someone somewhere needs to be motivating you to do these things.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
Wait, you guys think the thigh is not the most delicious? Because I've always argued about this.
No, it's a breast.
It's the breast.
Yeah, the breast is the one that's devoid.
Yes.
The thigh has a piece of skin on top.
Yeah.
If you remove it, it has less fat, but it still has fat.
Yeah.
The breast is the one that doesn't have.
Yes.
Fish is fantastic.
Right.
Fish is fantastic.
Right.
The amount of saturated fat in fish is very low.
Right.
And also, even when it comes to contamination,
right.
Fish is generally cleaner than animals that feed on land.
So Dr. But there's someone sat somewhere and like, okay, I hear what you're saying about the beef. Hear what you're saying about the white meat. I know you're not done, but I'm like, okay, but of those, is there a cheaper option?
Yeah, absolutely. In as much as people think that you can only get proteins from meat, how do you think vegetarians survive? Yeah. Vegetarians do exist, and there are people who've never eaten meat their entire lives, and they have muscle.
Indeed.
There are certain food groups that have have protein, and I'm going to get to them when I'm talking about starch. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to even quickly mention off the top of my head, did you know potatoes actually have protein?
Come on.
Yeah. Ndengu. Do you like ndengu?
No, thank you.
You don't?
But I hear you.
Dengu
I do.
has protein, okay. Yeah. Beans.
I love beans.
Beans are packed with protein.
Come on.
Soy.
Yes.
Do you like soy?
Sauce.
Soy sauce? Not soya. So let me do soya. Soya has quite a bit of protein.
Yes.
Legumes. Essentially, legumes. A lot of legumes have quite a bit of protein.
Yeah, I'm starting on those as well.
Yeah. So these foods can be substitutes for protein.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, I asked that question the wrong way, Doc, because I think what I meant to say is that, you see, now I've got, and I mentioned it early on, there's you've spoken about the steaks and the whatever, right? Now, I've got 50% on my plate. Yes, but it's matumbo. Yeah,
a good question. So generally, as a rule of thumb, you'll find that when it comes to meat, even though as doctors we advocate for white meat over red meat, red meat that comes from organs is very, very rich in the minerals that we need. It's very rich in iron, especially. Right. So like the heart is good also. Yep.
And people that are that piece of meat,
organ meat is fantastic
because it looks funny, but
kidney, liver, heart, very good. And it's also devoid of saturated fats. I mean, looking at liver, how much fat does liver have? Not much.
By the way,
and that's probably why it's not as yummy. But it is very, very rich in the minerals that we require to sustain our bodies. Now, when you come to something like matumbo, but I like my matumbo as well.
And please be gentle.
It's gonna hurt a lot of us.
Matumbo is so high in saturated fat, Coach. It's so high in saturated fat, and given the color, what color is matumbo? There's gray, then there's cream. Yeah, it doesn't have minerals. There's something called myoglobin. Sorry, I'll still try and simplify. So myoglobin is the component that is found in muscle. And muscle is red. Right? So organ meat has very high amounts of myoglobin, which then give it that color and just make it as nutritious as it is. So looking at matumbo, I mean, Yeah, the nutritional value there is very low, and it's also high in saturated fat.
Sharp.
So you're even better off not eating a protein.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if you're gonna eat matumbo. Matumbo should be a treat.
It is that useless.
Yeah, there's really not much nutritional value there.
Okay, so in the food chain, that is now bottom, and it's there with the plankton.
Yes, matumbo is down there.
With the plankton.
Yes.
What ranks slightly above that? Okay, no, 3 pieces of an animal. Does that make sense? That you see, and I like the way you've done that. You know, it's hard to take.
Yeah.
But we have eaten it.
Yeah. Right.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
What other 2? Yeah.
After matumbo, I would say the one that ranks just above that is pork. And don't be upset.
What?
Pork is so high in saturated fat, and it's a red meat. Did you know that people who think pork is white meat?
Yeah.
Yeah, pork is a red meat, but the reason pork is so delicious is because it's extremely high in... Quite, when was the last time you ate pork and didn't have to ask for a serviette to just wipe your mouth?
What do you mean? I've just bought 4 kilos. there's an offer here at Carrefour at the butcher. No, serious.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Pork steak. $8.99.
Really?
Yes.
Pork is so high in saturated fat. I'm not saying...
What's wrong with you?
Pork is very fatty, Quach. It's so fatty.
Yeah.
It's so fatty. Right? And so if
You see me, I can go. She's just finished.
if half your plate is pork, Quach, you're treading down a dangerous path.
They're steaks.
Then now after that, we come to the general red meat. This one we call it meat in bone.
Yeah.
Meat on bone,
yes,
and then you have to beg the butcher, Aki, please don't put for me that fat.
Bus, yes.
Yeah, meat on bone is next, and then now after that is, where would I go?
Okay, mincemeat.
Mincemeat. So there are 2 kinds of mincemeat.
I see, lean.
There's the lean mince,
yes.
and there's the kawaida mince.
Yes.
Actually, how I found out that the difference is actually very stark. I want you to try an experiment. One day, buy 100 grams of the lean mincemeat and 100 grams of the normal mincemeat. And then go home and boil it. Boil them separately. When you boil this normal mincemeat, once it cools down, you know, layer. The way fat, not even layer, even inside, you will not be able to remove the mincemeat. It coagulates. It coagulates completely. I have cats and they love mincemeat, but they will not eat fat. Yeah, and that's just how we learned. We were like, oh my God, look at all this fat. So every time we buy the normal mincemeat, they just don't eat it. So we resorted to omena, the economy.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so it's very fatty. So if you have to eat mincemeat, then you need to eat the lean mincemeat. Another thing I usually recommend to my patients is, that grinder is not so expensive, Quach, and you can actually get it at Gikomba over there, that side where they sell the metal things. The grinder is not very expensive. It's about 800 bob. You can buy your own meat and grind it. Because you see, even at the butchery, you don't really know what they've mixed this meat with, right?
Yes.
And so you may think you're healthy and you really love mincemeat, but because the butcher that day decided he has like a slab of fat that he just needs to throw inside, then it messes up with your diet. So I recommend, it's not a lot of work, by the way. You just grind like 5 kgs and you're done.
So look, we established bottom of the food chain. The plankton is matumbo, and then of course we've got pork. And Doc, you've done me in.
We've done me in, and then normal meats.
And then normal meats.
And then after that now we have our organs.
Yes.
Our organs are fantastic.
Where do sausages rank in this?
I'll get there.
Okay. Now, Doc, you mentioned it. And it's also something that we also love, but it's also considered, it's a fish. But in terms of nutrition, the value is very high, but people disrespect it. We're talking about omena.
Yeah.
Where does, maybe I should ask you, where does because I love it.
Oh, I do love it.
Yeah. Omena is good.
Why don't we propagate for it then more? Because, I would, you're very eloquent, and clearly you know how to convince people to do the right thing. But when we go to, and I'm serious, when we go to the supermarket, one, you'll not find it in the butchery.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's usually it's dried.
You're right.
And so it has to stay in the open,
And even when you go to to supermarket, it is in they've put it in a fodder place. Do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Why the disrespect, man?
I think what I'd have to say about that is omena is very largely cultural, right? It's one of those things you have to have lived in a certain area of Kenya or hang out with certain people.
I like the way she speaks.
To become very familiar with it. I'm from the coast. And I promise you, coastarians really, omena not so much. But it's an extremely good food choice, because it's high in omega-3. I mean, it's fish and it's not fatty at all. I would say it comes down to how you decide to cook it, because I know a lot of people do not find it. Do not find it very palatable. So it just comes down to how edible you make it.
So you're talking about fish. Salt water, fresh water, does it matter, or it's just where it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're both very nutritious.
And then when thank you, that one of the pork, it's really hit me for 6 because Matumba I knew. But then what about the lamb and the mutton?
Lamb is good.
Yeah?
Lamb is good.
Okay.
Not the fatty part though. I know that part that you like.
Oh yes.
I know that one. The tail.
Which is pure fat.
So the other thing I want to talk about while we're still on the topic of protein and meat is what some people may think is meat. You mentioned sausages. So how I like to look at nutrition as a rule of thumb, and just to make it very simple, if it's not coming straight from the ground to your plate or straight from being slaughtered to your plate without anybody adding anything else, you're probably eating some unhealthy things that you need to watch out for. So straight from the ground, what I mean is, where do you see white bread growing?
Nowhere.
See, I like that. I can take a break.
Another one. Where do cornflakes grow?
Come to that.
Where do they grow? You'll never see them. Where do sausages? How do you slaughter a sausage?
How do you?
No. How do you slaughter a sausage?
How do you slaughter a sausage? So if it is not coming straight from the ground or from, add something.
Right.
How I like to approach health is I like to start where you are.
I like that.
Okay.
Yes.
And for the plan I've given you, this is for someone who's probably been working out.
Right.
And they want to take their health to the next level. Maybe they've been working out and they're not seeing results.
And if you're wondering what plan Doc is talking about, is like picture your plate.
Yeah.
Okay. So ideally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, is that your plate is 50 protein, 50%. Okay.
Half of your plate.
Half of your plate is protein, 25 vegetables, 25 carbohydrates.
Very good.
So this is for someone who you've been working out and you're more active now, and maybe you're not seeing results. The tummy is taking much longer to fall off.
Sure.
You're looking, maybe you're a guy and you're seeing people with muscle and you're wondering, I've been working out, I've been doing this thing for like 1 year. Why am I not seeing results? If you're not that person, if you are coming from the place of, I have been eating badly, where do I start? Half of that plate would need to be vegetables.
Wow.
The 50% would need to be veggies.
Right.
Okay? You can see where I'm going with this. Carbs will never be half your plate. Carbs will never be half your plate.
Umesikia Omera? The carbs will never be half the plate.
Yes. So half your plate either needs to be vegetables or protein, depending on what your goal is.
Okay, so let's start with the veggies, because I like you, but you're not my friend.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me bad things that I don't want to hear. The truth hurts. Let's start with. We said we're going to start with starches.
Carbs, yes.
No, but I want to start with vegetables.
Veggies,
Tell me a bad vegetable. Tell me, there's obviously there are trees that are poisonous, plants. But I want to know what I mean in terms edible, in terms of nutritional value that is in the common domain, please, Doc. That you're like, this one is more or less, you see the way Matumbo is here. This one also in this WhatsApp group
is here. Now, the most interesting thing about vegetable squash, there is no such thing for vegetables. All vegetables, all edible vegetables. Let's call it that, because there are poisonous things. All vegetables are great for you. Alcohol is, considered, should I say, a key element in a lot of social settings, even in this part of the world, even in Nairobi, right?
You have to love the way she speaks.
And you can't just. I don't advocate for radical measures.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't just wake up and say nobody should drink.
Yes.
Ban it, right? Yes. But ideally, what you need to do is educate people on what the benefits or the risks would be, and if they were to indulge, if they must indulge, then what's acceptable, because this information is there. And we know it as medical professionals. So what's recommended? Hey, you guys are not going to be happy. But so when it comes to drinks, so you measure with a 300 ml glass if you're drinking not hard liquor.
Not spirits, not rocos.
Yeah. So spirits you measure with a tot, but then every other drink you measure with a glass.
Yes.
Now, looking at the different types of drinks, the content for wine is usually anything between 10 to 14%. The content for beer is
up to 7, 8.
5 to those ones for 10%. No. The content for beer is
taking you to the moon. Moon rocket.
4 to 6%. 4 to 6.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
And then the content for hard liquor is 30 to 40. Right?
Yes.
So because of this high alcohol content, then you'll find that the recommendation in terms of quantity decreases the higher the content is. So starting with hard liquor, what they recommend in a day is 1 tot.
What?
How many have you been having, Quatch?
No. The thing is, I don't do that hard liquor.
You don't do hard liquor?
You mean that's the 300 ml ones?
We are getting there. So 1 tot.
What?
1 tot is what's recommended.
Yani in a week, just 7.
Do you know
that's 3 doubles.
The guys who do 7 in a sitting.
7 what?
Tots.
Okay.
So the recommendation for tots is 1.
We don't know what we can tell you about that.
Okay. And then we go to the
wine.
next one is wine.
Yes.
The ladies.
Yes.
Now for wine, ladies are supposed to have, and remember I'm measuring the 300 ml glass. Not that glass you go and tell the waiter, Jazza. 300 ml, the ladies is 1. 1 glass a day. And not more than 7 in a week.
Come on.
For ladies.
Okay. Now you come to my WhatsApp group.
So I come to beer. So beer, because of the body mass index of males, the allowance was a little more.
Yes.
No, actually because of the alcohol content.
Yes.
Remember, wine has 12 to 14, 10 to 14.
Yes.
And beer is 4 to 6.
Yes.
So males, the maximum is 2.
Okay.
2 in a sitting, a maximum of 14 in a week.
Teacher. Bas! Now,
I'm getting to you. I already know your question. I already know your question. Let me tell you, I already know your question. So the maximum in a week is 14.
But, good, you know the question.
I know the question. So the question is, what if I drink all 14 in one sitting?
There! No, honestly, that...
And then he forgets and adds a
No. So, honestly, that's it.
There's a term for that. And the term is binge drinking.
Yes.
Even if you drink all 14 and you don't get drunk, if you're drinking higher than what is recommended, you're binge drinking.
Yes.
And binge drinking has been shown to have detrimental effects, especially on your brain.
And I'm going Boyrok, yes.
Binge drinking is terrible for your brain. It's
so
terrible.
There's no excuse to say because I did not do Monday,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Side by side.
Yes.
We put Quatch and Fatma.
Yes.
If Fatma has 2 beers every day, 2 beers every day, and then Quatch, because he's so busy, he
has 14 on Friday.
14 on Friday.
Yes.
Quatch is going to damage his liver, his heart, his brain much faster than Fatma. Okay.
There we have it.
And I'm not advocating for drinking. Yeah.
No.
So
I get
ideally, you shouldn't. If you can, if you're a teetotaler, it's fantastic.
Yes.
But if you're not and you're socialized to drink,
Yes.
you need to know, as a lady, 1 glass, as a man, 2 beers, 1 shot, call it a day.
Me, I feel sorry for you who drinks because
So I feel sorry for you guys who drink.
Baba, that's like medicine.
Baba,
But it's not even one double.
And you mentioned.
no, just a single thought, Baba.
My friend.
We don't
I was
even
listening. You said, now if you can't do all those, because it's life, and
Yes.
the reality is usually very different from what the textbooks say.
Yes.
If you drink the way I don't recommend, you mentioned that you don't eat.
Yes.
Alcohol is not like food. When you drink alcohol, it's digested by the liver immediately.
Hold on. So wait, it says there barley, hops, Nini, that your
Disregard all
sitakulu?
those. No, please.
Those are ingredients, Baba.
Those are ingredients. Good one. Those are ingredients. Those things come together to make the alcohol. So alcohol usually bypasses the
Digestive system.
digestion process.
Yeah. Oh.
Food sits in the stomach
Yes.
for like 2 hours.
Yes.
And then, it follows the right way from the esophagus, it goes down to the
Pass.
stomach, then the intestines, and then finally it's broken down by the liver, and then the waste goes to the kidney. So you either pee, whatever is left in your intestine, you poop, right? Alcohol doesn't go through that process because it's not a food group. Number one, you need to remember that, yeah? Alcohol is digested almost straight through, yeah?
That's why you susu a lot.
Well, partly, but also that's why you can get alcohol toxicity, alcohol poisoning. You can get food poisoning, not the one for diarrhea, but you can't eat until your liver is shutting down.
Yes.
Sindio?
Yes.
But you can overload the liver with alcohol.
Yes.
So knowing that, what is recommended is that you really slow down this emptying. You really slow it down.
By eating.
You can't drink, you shouldn't drink on an empty stomach. Let me not say you can't. You can, but you shouldn't.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is actually recommended is that you eat, and notice where I'll go with this. You eat fatty things.
Yes.
And you eat protein, because you see fat and protein will absorb them much slower than if you say eat vegetables.
Yes.
Now imagine if you take Fatma's recommendation, and now Fatma said, before I drink, I must eat fatty things. How will your body look like after a while?
So we go back to where we
we are back to where we did not want to be.
Where we are saying we don't eat fatty foods.
Yeah. You remember where you came from?
Yeah.
So that's why you'll find, why cheese boards are popular? Yeah, cheese boards are popular because cheese is very high in fat. Huh?
Yes, I love cheese.
And so, it sits in your stomach for a while.
Yes.
And so if you eat cheese and then you drink, you'll find that getting drunk is also a bit more difficult.
It's a rumor.
Yeah. So remember that. So if you must drink, please always make sure that you eat beforehand so that you don't damage your organs so much. But we've said 2 drinks from today, Kwach.
Yes. No. Kwanza mimi, I'm look, touch wood. And it's from my lips to your ears.
Yeah.
December. Last week was a trip. Doc, Fatma, thank you so much for coming through today. We hope to see you. By the way, make sure you join us with Fatma every Monday. Paka Chaliageto, have you been? Chaliageto sema, bwana doctors kila kitu ni mbaya. Sasa tukule
in moderation.
So you said it is what is it? What is that? What's the app, Doc?
Maisha Fiti.
Listen, get on there, jump onto Maisha Fiti now. Quick, fast, minus slow. Next Monday in the 4:00 hour going forward, Dr. Fatma Omar will be up front and center, man. Wellness manager, Jubilee Health. Absolutely brilliant